What's up, rockers? Metal Dave Glessner here, along with my co-host Jason McMaster. Welcome to another episode of the Talk Louder podcast. Today we are joined by guitarist Mike Deleon, Texas boy. Our neighbor practically lives right down the highway in San Marcos, Texas. You may know him best for his work with the band Flesh Hoarder. He's also in Soulfly with Max Cavalera. He plays with Philip Anselmo in the Illegals. The dude's done a lot of amazing stuff, specializing, I think, in brutal death metal. It's fair to say.
Sure.
But a rock and roll fan through and through. I won't spoil the maybe the surprise at the end of the conversation, but just to prove he's a well-rounded dude. He's got some tricks in his bag, man. He really does appreciate all kinds of music.
It's a great episode. I think people are going to be surprised, like you're saying, of how straight up this guy is. He's super chill and fun, and his personality is infectious.
Yes, absolutely.
And he's a number one. You know what I mean? He's someone that he's smart and talented and very, very well-rounded. And it shouldn't be, after this episode, it shouldn't be a surprise that his phone rings. We got him to talk about some extremely special moments and things that he's gotten to do and celebrate. He's quickly compared to like a Phil Demmel, where Phil Demmel is this go-to guitar player who's played with everybody from Slayer to Lamb of God to he's played with everybody. And Mike is the Texas Phil Demmel.
There you go. I like that.
I hope Phil would appreciate that and Mike appreciate that, because they're friends and they have mad respect for each other. So
I think that
kind of. Yeah, that works. It's not the greatest coin, but
it's great.
It's working right now. And I reached out to him not knowing that he was a fan of the show.
Yeah.
I reached out to him because he's busy and relevant and has stuff going on, and he's coming home and then packing his bag 3 days later to go do something else.
Yeah.
With a totally different project.
Exactly.
So
I don't know how he keeps up with it, man.
Well, now you do.
Now I do.
Now you know how he keeps up with it, because it's what he does.
Yeah, he's very, very organized.
Yeah.
And like you said, his phone rings and the people on the other end are always accomplished people, names that you know. There's a reason he gets those calls. I've never really talked to him. He told me that we've been in the same building numerous times. He recognized me as soon as we got on camera.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Oh, yeah, dude, I see you at all the shows and blah, blah, blah." And I'm like, "Man, next time we're in the same room, we need to spend some time hanging out and talking." But today, thanks to you booking him on the show, this is really the first time I've ever had gotten to know him. And I loved him, man. He was everything you just described. His enthusiasm for what he does is contagious. He's a very chill, personable guy, and we just got along like gangbusters. So I'm so glad we had him on the show today.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. Mike Deleon today on the Talk Louder podcast.
Hey, Mike, we just have a conversation and hang out.
Sounds good, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks for joining us on a Sunday morning. We appreciate it. You're right down the street from us, aren't you? Are you somewhere between Austin and San Antonio?
Yes, I'm in San Marcos, so I'm right here in the middle, and it's like Central Texas, right here in San Marcos, man. Yeah, right between Austin and San Antonio.
You're like 15 minutes away from me.
That's it? 15 minutes?
I'm in Lockhart.
Oh man, you're like right down the road.
Yeah, I'm like 15, 20 minutes from you. 15.
The barbecue capital of Texas.
That's what they say. I guess you're only about 30 minutes from where Dave's at right now. He's in South Austin.
So. I'm in South Austin. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm back and forth to San Antonio all the time. My parents are still there, and I've got a lot of buddies that I still hang out with, and I grew up there. So, yeah, back and forth all the time through San Marcos.
I know I've seen you at a bunch of concerts, just so many shows throughout all the years. You've always had the same look. I've always just recognized you, and I'm like, you're always at all the shows supporting the rock and roll. So it's awesome, man.
Wow, dude. Next time we're going to have to make a point of saying hello to each other.
Yo, what up, man? For sure. We got to.
I met Metal Dave when he was the guy that used to bring a 12-pack to, like, I used to work at the Austin Rehearsal Complex. This would have been in the 90s. And he would show up, and I don't think I actually knew you yet, Dave, but you'd have a 12-pack under each arm wearing a leather jacket. You'd come into, like, the Contradicts rehearsal.
Yeah.
You'd come to all the punk rock dudes rehearsal. And the funny thing is you had hippie hair.
Yeah.
You had hair, like, parted down the middle, coming all the way down to your belt buckle, leather
That's
jacket,
right.
scruffy looking and shit, come in. You were Cousin It.
That's how I got the name Metal Dave. I was the long-haired dude with the Iron Maiden shirt hanging out with all the punk rockers.
That's right.
And that was, almost 30 years ago, and the name stuck.
That shit is real. That made you real right there. And it's funny that the punk rock dudes gave you the name Metal Dave.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's how they separated me from any other Daves in the crowd. Everybody in the punk rock crowd had a nickname. So if there was two guys with the same name, they had to differentiate, so they got a nickname. And if you were in a band, your first name was your first name and your last name was your band name. So the guys from Lower Class Brats was like Marty Brat.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I was Metal Dave, not to be confused with any other Dave that might have been in the scene.
Well, I'm in a band with like 4 Daves.
Yeah, you are.
So it's really, I have to catch myself. Hey, Dave, and 4 dudes turn around. Doesn't work. So that's the whole thing. Mike, where were you? Were you born and raised in San Marcos?
I am born and raised right here in San Marcos, Texas. Fortunately enough to have traveled and seen a lot of this world. But I was just talking about this a couple of days ago with another friend of mine. But it's always just a great big deal to me when I get to, especially from the Lockhart area. I'm always coming in from off of I-10. So anytime I kind of come back into San Marcos from my travels, coming back into San Marcos is always like I feel safe again. I feel like, okay, I made it back. I made it back another time again, So
Yeah.
It's just always it's where I'm from. And my mom and dad are just about 5 minutes away from me, and my mother and father-in-law are about 1 minute around the corner. So it's just, we have, all our family is right here, and it's really cool.
Makes it real. That's home.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. And also my father-in-law, he is a awesome musician. He is I want to say like a studio musician, because he plays very well, and he's kind of like a jazz player, and he plays in a couple of really big Tejano bands, and they play some big shows, and he does a lot of traveling too. So it's cool to be able to talk with him, and him totally understand, where I'm coming from, and I understand where he's coming from, and we got that connection. So it's real cool.
Yeah, and you're married, and you have a lovely wife and a family. Do you have a couple of kids?
Yes, I got my 2 boys, Iomi and Atlas, and then
hell yeah,
my little dudes, and then I have my daughter Ibanez as well.
Nice.
Yeah, so it's a lot of music, and just very thankful for family music. Just being surrounded by a lot of good stuff, a lot of positivity is always a big help in us metal dudes, man. So it's good.
Yeah. So your very first band that, and I've read a couple of interviews with you where you talk about it a little bit, and unfortunately I have a short attention span, and I have a short, even shorter memory. But I'm telling you, you've been around for a little while. So your first band, I don't know what year it was, and I don't know what it was called, but it was always metal. And when did you start playing out of San Marcos, or just when did you start playing your first gigs and start like coming to Austin or San Antonio or New Braunfels and putting together bills with your band and friends and like-minded people?
Man, that's an awesome question. It's really cool to touch base on some of these memories, and even for me to stir some of these memories up
Sure.
and talk about it. My first real band was a band called Disfigured.
That's right.
And we used to play the Texas circuit so much back in the early 2000s. And I want to say the venue that we really got to grind our teeth and kind of establish ourselves was a venue in Austin, Texas called the Back Room. And the back room was such a legendary place to so many of us guys, and we all got to go up and do our thing at one point or another. But for a few years there, we were playing there, it seemed like every week. And then when we would play San Antonio, it would always be an old school venue called the White Rabbits. And we used to do a ton of shows at the White Rabbit, and playing that venue was always a big deal because I saw so many of my favorite bands at the Back Room and at the White Rabbit. So for my local bands to start, getting our name out there, it was a big deal for us. That must have been the year like 2004 to 2008 when we really started to get busy and start traveling and doing some gigs around Austin, San Antonio, and the whole Texas circuit, from the Valley hitting down, McAllen and Brownsville to, El Paso to Dallas and everything, Houston and everything in between. So it was a really good time. Music at that time really seemed to be alive. There were so many good bands, By Any Means Necessary and Hatchet Work and War Within.
Yeah.
Man, I could go on and on. Scattered Remains. There's so many good bands in the Austin area, and we were all supporting each other, and we were all booking shows with one another. And it was almost like the same bill every week, but a band would be a different band. And it was just, we were all together. It was a big, the scene at the time was very much alive. Headhunters was another venue. Now that it's hit me, Headhunters was another venue in Austin, Texas. I definitely remember spending a lot of time and playing a lot of shows.
I know that I saw Disfigured with By Any Means Necessary at the Back Room, and maybe even downtown somewhere.
Yeah, maybe the old emos.
Yeah, could have been. I know I did, and it was probably 2005 or something like that.
So it's definitely been a long time.
So moving. Let's keep this moving a little bit. We're not in any hurry or anything, but Flesh Hoarder is that what Disfigured turned into, or was it a totally different thing?
Man, that's another good point and another good question. My current band here is Flesh Hoarder, and that's what Disfigured, I would say, not turned into, but fell into. We've been around about a good 10 or 11 years. Disfigured's probably been inactive for about 10 or 11 years. We've been playing a show here or there kind of throughout the years, but it kind of stopped, and Flesh Hoarder really picked up when that kind of came to an end. And it was most of the guys in Disfigured, but it was also other guys from other bands that we would always jam with, bands from San Antonio and bands from Austin, a little core group of dudes. We kind of came together and formed Flesh Hoarder one day, and we're still going strong today, man, and we're writing new music and stuff. So I would say, that it came from that to that. But every so often you'll see a Disfigured show. I mean, every so often, but that's, it's good. Everything's good. We're all still jamming.
Well, you mentioned
Dave,
new music, and I was going to ask you the status of Flesh Hoarder, because I may not be up to speed here, but I think the last thing you put out was 2021.
Yes, that's totally right. That was our second album, and really, really proud of that album as well. We were a lot more focused and a little bit more mature when we put out that second album. And we've had some time. We've had some, some good shows, some good tours since then. Now, for the last year, since the beginning of the year, we've been in the studio just really hashing out some new music, and we're going to be getting into a studio sometime soon and getting all our new stuff, get it recorded and put out soon for our next release and whatnot. So it's good. We're all, like I said, we're real focused and taking our time and really putting together some good stuff. So it's cool.
First time I saw Flesh Hoarder, I'm going down memory lane too, because I can almost count them on one hand that I remember. My excuse earlier is my memory is bad, but like you and I have worked together a couple of times where our bands played together, and I want to say the first time I saw Flesh Hoarder was, and the second time we were both on the bill. You were on the bill with Igniter in some form or fashion. Maybe the first time was and this is what I can't spit out, Red Eyed Fly.
Man,
Do you remember that?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, good.
I was just gonna say, if you had said another venue, I was gonna say I think it's the Red Eye Fly, but you said that was it right there.
Yeah.
Man, that's totally correct. And that was, 15, 14, 13 years ago or something like that. It's been a long time, but I definitely remember that, Jason. And I honestly remember seeing you. Let's go back even further to like 04, 05, when I got to see Broken Teeth open for Stephen Piercy and Twisted Sister at the the big parking lot place in San Antonio.
Cowboys.
San Antonio, yeah.
I think it was just called like Cowboys Roundup or Cowboys.
Yeah, Cowboys Dance Hall or something like that.
But it was outdoors.
Yes.
Yeah, it was a big outdoor thing. LA Guns. It was a kind of a different twisted version of LA Guns. Stephen Piercy. There might have been a couple of local San Antonio bands on the bill.
But I remember seeing you guys. That was at least as what I can remember, seeing Broken Teeth and seeing you up there, the leather jacket, rocking out, man, hitting those notes. And it was just a great show. I remember getting in for $20. I was like, I'll never forget. I was like, it's a $20 bill. And it was just like a great lineup of bands. And I remember that show very well right there.
That was a fun party in a field right off the highway.
I remember Stephen Piercy came back, and weren't you guys wasn't there like an old school bus behind the stage or something?
That was Broken Teeth.
Yeah, we were all, and Piercy came on board, and we were all hanging out with Piercy.
That's right.
I remember that. I'm sitting there on a school bus with this dude that I used to watch on MTV, and I'm like, this is crazy, man.
Well, it wasn't a school bus. It was I think it was an old Bluebird or an old MCI.
It was an old bus of some sort.
It was an old coach.
Was it red or red color?
No, but we used to have Broken Teeth used to have a red Prevost though.
Yeah.
And so, but yeah, it was. I think it was grayish white. It was, dude. It was a piece.
Yeah, it was an old rattle trap.
You could hear us coming and smell us coming. It was a rock and roll party, man.
I saw Flesh Hoarder. My son and I saw you last summer on the Pantera bill. And God, that might have been the hottest gig I ever sat through, man. I mean, what was it like for you guys? How many dates did you do with Pantera? This was just last summer. You were out with Pantera, Lamb of God, Flesh Hoarder opened things up. It was brutally hot in Austin, Texas. How many dates did you do on that tour?
I remember we did a total of 3 shows on that run. Philip was getting some of his housecore bands on his label to open up select certain gigs, and we got to do 3 of the shows. And man, I remember that one being a really hot gig as well. But I want to say the first of the 3 shows in Arkansas was probably the hottest of the 3.
Wow.
And it was just a really hot gig, man. And but those were some very, very awesome shows, and a really awesome chance for us guys, who usually jam, the small club circuit, to go out and play our style of death metal, for a very big audience, and just a really awesome chance for us to go and rock out, man, for a lot more people, and to go out and jam with some legends like Lamb of God, and absolutely Pantera was super phenomenal, and something that we'll always cherish, man.
Was that
for people
third?
who don't know, that was the Texas gig I'm talking about. It was August in Texas, and if you've ever been in Texas during August, it's pass out hot, man.
That was that Circuit of the Americas. That was at Coda, right down the road from me.
Right.
So was the third show in Oklahoma? Was it
No,
Austin?
the third show was there in Austin. We started in Arkansas, and then we did the Woodlands out in Houston.
Oh, Houston,
the
that's right.
Woodlands area.
Yep,
and then we got to end it, which was super cool, on a Sunday night. It's also Dimebag's birthday. It was August the 21st.
That's right.
So it was just a very special gig that night. And, another venue that I've seen so many of my favorite bands there, at the Coda there. So to be able to grace the stage with, Flesh Hoarder was just an absolutely bucket list dream come true, to jam on that stage with our, with the Mexican crew of dudes, man, and come out and jam. So it was really, really cool, man. Very special.
Did you feel any growth in? This is late coming, but congratulations on that, because that is a fucking big deal.
Totally.
And that that comes into the question. My first thought. Did you tangibly, if that's a word, feel your footprint, for your Flesh Hoarder footprint, grow a little bit from those few shows? I mean, did your online merch sales go up? Did you get more downloads that week? Did you get more traffic on your website? Did you get more followers on your social media? These things. Did you feel something like that? Because I feel like other people in bands that are, kind of B-level, C-level bands, they want to know how that would
impact.
Yes.
Yeah.
Man, what a totally great question. I would say it was a big deal for us. We, with the few days that we were there, and then the couple of weeks after, for sure, it was a big surge in a lot of stuff that are online. Our numbers were definitely growing on Spotify. You could see our followers growing up on Facebook. We would talk to each other, and we would be like, do you see this? Are you seeing? Or, we just hit 10,000 followers. We were below 10,000. Now we're over 10,000 on our followers. We were definitely seeing that. When it came to the merch, that was a really big deal as well, because, we took what we thought we would be all right with, for the 3 gigs. We sold out of merch, out of everything. Night number 1, everybody bought everything.
That's a good problem to have, though.
Yeah.
And it was a total good problem to have. And it was one of those 24-hour, can we get some more rush, trying to get somebody to help us. And it was just a cool moment. And, we came through right in the nick of time for the next gig, and we were loaded right back up. And, we saw that right leading into the next 2 gigs, just, and then in Austin, Texas, a lot of our family who were traveling from all parts, and all our friends and our fans who were there to see us, everybody was buying everything up. So at the end of the day, the merch, definitely did a lot better than what we were thinking to even begin with. We were thinking this, and it was that. So it was definitely a lot better than that. And even from then, we're starting to get a little bit more tour offers, which has been totally cool. And just seeing just fans from all over the place. It's like really, you know, online. I don't use TikTok or any of that kind of stuff, but some of the other guys do, and they see some of our music being sampled and some odds and ends, and people using our music to do stuff with,
Yeah.
and you know,
Yeah,
it's just
I'm not a TikTok fan, and I really don't use TikTok, but TikTok, much like other social platforms, if you release your music digitally at all, it automatically makes itself available to TikTok and other social media platforms, to where if people are doing a post or a funny video, they can literally scroll through background music that they want, and you can search. If they type in Flesh Hoarder, it's going to
there it
show up, and
is.
obviously you've released your stuff digitally. So from what I know, and I don't know shit, that's probably how that works, because I've
Yeah.
seen that same thing happen.
That's what I'll be
Definitely.
doing. I mean, when this episode is ready to drop, I'm going to be going to our social media
There you
account, and
go.
I'm the guy that does that. So I'll be going through the Flesh Hoarder catalog and adding background music to the Mike Deleon post. Yeah,
Thank you. Yeah,
absolutely.
and
So take me back. Take me to that first gig when you walk off stage after opening the Lamb of God Pantera. I don't know about the other guys in your band or even you, but I'm going to imagine that at least as Flesh Hoarder, that's probably the first time you've played on a stage that massive for an audience that big. What are you guys like looking at each other when you come off stage and going, dude, that was amazing. Where
it
do I
was
get more of this?
that's 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 totally how it felt. It's one of those cloud nine moments where everybody is just sitting on that cloud nine, and you're everybody's just vibing off the vibe in the room. You know, it's just like, man, we could do this forever. You know, we could keep doing this. This was awesome. But to do it a few more times, and like I said, the Sunday night when we were in Austin, it was just like the vibe in the room leading up to our performance and after the gig especially was just like it was just so full in this little room. It was just a full, it was just, you had to walk in and feel that feeling. We were all on the same page, the same moment, living in that, you know, period of hours there. And it was just like, you know, it was very cool. It was
That's
a big deal for us guys to do that.
That's
Sure.
a natural high. That's a
Yeah.
natural that
Totally.
And I had like,
Totally.
you know, I had my son, my oldest son, my wife, you know, everybody had some sort of family, and we were all together in this room, and it was just like a big one big soul in that one room feeling that moment together, you know, and it was
we
real
were
cool.
talking to Abaddon from Venom, and he describes what you're describing, and it wasn't exactly, you know, the high from the gig you just played or whatever, and everyone's just like this tangible, you could cut it with a knife, nobody even has to say any words, but everyone is, you know, lovey-dovey, hugging and high-fiving and whatever, and group hugging and blah blah blah. Abaddon called it a hive mind.
A hive mind.
Hive mind.
Yeah.
That's a good way of putting it right there.
It's brilliant.
And Max Cavalera described it as goosebump moments.
Yeah. Goosebump moment.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Big
Yeah.
brother Max.
Yeah. I want to get to Max in a little bit, but I wanted to, I had this question on my list, and you mentioned your father-in-law and your family, and I was going to ask, in a band like Flesh Hoarder, when you're meeting your in-laws for the first time, and they ask what you do, and you tell, oh yeah, I'm a musician. Oh yeah, I'm in a band. Okay, we're called Flesh Hoarder. Yeah, we have songs called Ingesting Excrement and Gratification Through Mutilation. How does that go over with the family the first time you announce these things?
Man, my mother-in-law, let me talk about her real quick. She's awesome. I love her, but she is the one that'll like hit me with the elbow, like, Mike, what are you doing? Like, like coming up with song titles like that. Like, she'll be the one to like hit me with the newspaper, the back of their head, and be like, come on, man, like she's super cool, but at the same time, totally supportive. Both my mother and father-in-law, they know it's just music. My son is really into Flesh Hoarder. My son loves the band. He doesn't, know none of that, but he really likes the music, and he always comes and watches us jam. So they love to see him come see us. So they're totally supportive of it all, but they also are like, they know they're not, they understand we're not talking about good stuff. We're talking about some crazy stuff here, So
Yeah.
they're cool with it. They totally support it, man. But,
Do you guys ever get in a room and you're working up lyrics or whatever, and you guys just sit around and laugh at the absurdity of how grotesque and disgusting some of this stuff is? I can imagine like all of you grown men going, dude, look what I came up with, and the rest of you guys just laugh and go, oh man, that's a good one.
like it's more our singer. He handles all the lyrics. Like we just do all the music. So he writes all his own lyrics, which is super cool. He kind of has a standard too. Like he wants it to be sick, and he likes it sick and twisted, man. So he comes to us with what he's written out, and he'll ask us, what do you think of this? And he'll write out his lyrics, and we'll read over it, and then it becomes, dude, this is crazy. What are you talking about here? Where are you getting your inspiration for some of this right here?
Yeah.
So
it's cool. He's by the way, he's really fucking good for that style. He's a motherfucker. And
he works in a morgue, so he deals with dead bodies for a living, and
he has the right vocabulary then. His terminology is spot on.
He sees it every day and deals with it in his own way, and that's his job. He has to do his thing, and so he puts it on. He puts it to paper, and he makes it his own, and we go out and do our thing, man.
He's able to find the smiley face and butterflies in a dark world.
They're crazy dark, especially with San Antonio. He's he's told us some crazy stories, So, but it's just lyrics, and we're just having fun, man, just doing our thing.
Yeah. I think that's kind of what I was getting at. There's got to be a sense of humor beneath it all, where you guys are sort of quietly chuckling in the background, going, "Dude, this is so gross. It's perfect."
Oh, dude, totally, man. It's funny. It can be funny, man. It's funny, man.
Sure. Who came up with the name Flesh Hoarder? Because the name kind of speaks. You already know what you're getting when you hear the name Flesh Hoarder.
Fucking name. Yeah.
Man, who came up with that name? I think it was our guitar player, Angel, if I want to say. Our other guitar player, he came up with the name. We were sitting in a car, and I was in the back of the car, and we were just chilling, talking music, and he came up with... Actually, no, let me correct myself. That name, I got to give credit to. I know where it came from. It came from an old friend of mine named Ryan Stallings, who has now passed on. So I got to send some love to Ryan. He came up with that name. He gave us a couple of names, and we went with Flesh Hoarder. That's how we came up with our name. So shout out to Ryan, and we missed the big homie. He came up with the name, man.
Well, it's fucking good.
Yeah,
it's a good one. It's a good one, man.
Yeah, yep.
You know what you're getting when you hear the name Flesh Hoarder. Tell us how did you first meet Philip Anselmo?
Okay, this is another good question. Let's see. As a fan, when I was a young kid, like I said, at the back room, he would play with like Superjoint Ritual or Down. And I just remember just meeting him as a fan just before we even ever met. I remember meeting him a couple of times, just hanging outside, waiting to get something signed, and just shaking his hand, and him being real cool, long hair, big beard, But fast forward to a bunch of years later, and I was over in Germany playing with another guy named Billy Milano, and we were in a band called MOD,
Right.
and we played a festival with a band called Phil Anselmo and the Illegals, and a bunch of stuff was going on, and I got the call about 6 months later asking if I was interested in coming to rehearse with the Illegals. And even that night when I met him in Germany, I remember meeting him and talking to him and, just being in a room with him, but not really, getting to know him until a little bit later again. But then I got the call to join, to come jam with the Illegals. And at first, that was just the Illegals getting together outside of Houston. And then we made our way out to Philip's house, outside of New Orleans, and that's a whole nother story with so many memories. Just driving in the car for the first time in my life at 2 a.m, arriving at Philip's house, and then being in a room with the guys and closing the door for the first time, and now it's just the dudes. It's only like four guys, and that was our first time getting to jam together. So, it was just so much work put into a lot to get there. And even that first jam, I learned the whole first Illegals album. Nobody knows me, but I jammed. I was learning the whole first Illegals album, Walk Through Exits Only, just to get in that room. And Philip was wanting to work on the new Illegals album. So we didn't even work on anything that I had practiced. We went right into, first jam, learning brand new songs for this new band, this new project, this new album. It was just, man, so much. It was
so there was no audition process. He just saw you play a few times or whatever, and probably went and listened. He looked you up.
It was a word of mouth, of the old school word of mouth.
Yeah.
It was like, hey, check this guy out. Hey, this guy, this might be the guy. It was a few guys saying this guy. And then I just walked into the room and just never left, man. Still, still there, still jamming, man. And
no audition. He knew you were the guy.
And not so much more today in particular, as Philip is super busy with Pantera and I'm super busy with Soulfly. But me and Philip still have our, we're still, every so often we'll send some demos, or, we still have the Illegals on the back burner, and it's great. But right now, and this time, I'm jamming with Soulfly, and he's doing his Pantera. He's doing Down right now. So we're just both staying busy, and it's great. It's awesome. It's at a good place.
Did I read somewhere that you were actually in the Pantera rehearsals because Zach wasn't quite available yet, so you were kind of handling the guitar parts during the early rehearsals for this tour?
Man, I got to jam at rehearsal number 1. This is all.
Hold on a second. Hey, I'm going to interrupt this whole fucking interview right now. So,
what?
Mike, you were actually. Was this at Nosferatu's lair?
Yeah, it's Nosferatu's lair.
So you're in there playing Pantera songs with Charlie,
Rex, and Philip.
Yeah.
Hold on a second. I'm just trying to imagine what might be going through your brain. Because you're a fan, dude. Fuck everything. You're
that's
a
why
fan.
That's why I asked, because
you're a fan, bro. Just like we are fans, and so
big fan.
I mean, yeah. So you're in there, and just like I can't imagine what you, and then on top of what your family and friends were just probably like, you're doing what? Even though you're not, in the tribute to the brothers, this reunion thing, but you're in
The room.
a whole other,
Yeah.
but you're in though. You're
Yes.
you're
And
in
playing the
it's
music that he
it's
grew
the
up
inner
listening
it's
to.
the inner circle, and you're living out some kind of strange, unbelievable, surreal. Tell us how that felt.
The the most important thing about this rehearsal that went down, the most important thing was that it was rehearsal number one. It was the very first one. It was the first time that those three guys got in a room together, but most specifically, Rex Brown and Philip Anselmo, who had not really been in a room together jamming Pantera songs since 2001.
That's heavy.
It was very,
That's mental,
very,
heavy.
very heavy.
Yeah.
So that's just one thing among the many things that were going on at this rehearsal. So leading up to it real quick, I was in the Netherlands doing a jam with the Bay Area Inter-thrash, which
That's right.
which was a whole big deal,
Yeah.
jamming with all these amazing legends of the Bay Area. I was the only Texas guy on that stage who did the entire set, by the way, with all these guys. It was insane. I got into my hotel room and I'm on cloud nine. I'm by myself in my hotel room, and I had a missed phone call from Philip. And I was like, man, I hadn't talked to him in a few months. We both been busy. So I hit him right back up like 5 minutes later. I remember sitting in the hotel room talking to him, and he's telling me, Mike, we need you. We need you in 2 weeks, 3 weeks. We need you. Zach Wild can't make our very first rehearsal. The guys want to get together and start dusting off these songs. And we need somebody to come out and play the guitar so we can kind of get the wheels rolling on these songs. It was just a rehearsal, but at that moment in time, it was the biggest deal ever because it was Charlie Benante, Rex, and Philip wanting to jam Pantera, and the Illegals had just got done doing the Pantera tribute sets. So all those songs were fresh in my mind and definitely in my playing. And so I had a 2-week, 2.5 weeks, it wasn't much of a window to really get back on those songs again from what I was just doing. I had just learned 15 thrash songs from the late 80s, which was like Exodus and Forbidden and Metallica and Slayer, deep cuts, so my mind was in a jumble of Megadeth notes.
Yeah.
And then I had to switch gears and go into like a Pantera full-blown history set to get in this room with these guys because these guys wanted to practice. Now I've practiced with lots of guys, my guys in my local bands to guys, but to be in a room with these guys who have been, jamming since the 80s, man, putting releases out since I was born, to get in a room with these three specific individuals was a really, really big deal and very surreal. Now, let's talk about it real quick. I remember getting there and thinking, who's gonna be there? Like, is it just gonna be us? Like, I had no idea. I did not know who was gonna be there. I thought it was just gonna be maybe 4 or 5 guys. But when I got there and it was a production of people, we're talking to, a crew of people, I was like, whoa, this is way bigger than what I was even imagining. I could not even imagine meeting all these new people that I've never met in my life. Hello, this is so-and-so. Hello, this is so-and-so. It was a big deal. I was like, wow, this is okay.
Charlie's Tech.
Yes. Now they're not there yet. Like
okay.
First it was just me. Philip's there. We're in his home. We're in the lair, but it's a bunch of people, and I'm meeting all these techs. Some of them I knew. Some of them I've met. Some of them I'm like, it was Grady, who was Dimebag's tech. To have him there was a big, big deal. This guy's the man, and he's Tech for Dime since he was a kid, and so many other amazing musicians, you know, that I could just list. And so for me, this dude to come into a room and have my guitars like walking in, you know, and having these guys greet me and welcome me was pretty surreal, was pretty fascinating to see, man. The end of the day, you're loaded in. Now I'm in my room upstairs at Phillips, and now I've done this many times where I spent the night, you know, stayed there. But to be there where it's no illegals now. I'm not with my normal dudes, you know. Now I'm with a bunch of new folks. It was laying in my bed that night. You know, I've never really talked about this, but like I'm sitting there like, you know, really feeling some pressure, you know, feeling, man, I got to go do a good job. These people are relying on me. You know, they didn't call me for no reason. You know, I know that much. But at the same time, I know that I got to play well because these people know. These are Pantera family. They were there. They know. So, you know, I got to do good. Fast forward to a couple of days. Now, I think the first person that came was Rex. He was the first one, I believe. Yes, I could be wrong. I think it was Rex. It could have been Charlie. But having these guys walk in the room and I'm just sitting there with my guitar in my little corner of the room and having like Charlie Benante walk in and his drum set was so huge. You know, like again, I've jammed with some guys and they have some drum sets, but this was it was wall to wall, and he was sitting behind there, and there was a lot of special things going on with the drums, particular sounds that they were going for Vinnie Paul. Mm-hmm. And I'm just there like, wow, listening to these guys dial in some tones coming out the speakers. And then Rex was actually after Charlie. I remember he walked in the last of the three. And then he started dialing in his bass tone. Now, let me talk 30 seconds about Rex and his bass tone. I remember sitting there with Charlie even, and us sitting there, and he was overpowering anybody else in that room with that bass tone. It was so monstrous. It was making us, you know, where they make the guts are just jumbling because that low end was so brutal. It was clean, and it was Rex it was his fingers, it was his tone, and he was cranking, you know, and it was just I still to this day will say that was the heaviest bass tone I've ever stepped in a room with. And I was only 10 feet, 15 feet across the room, and it was rowdy, man. But then, you know, we got to jamming, and me personally, just to keep going, I wanted Charlie, Rex, and Philip on my end for them to feel comfortable on anything. I had the set list. I knew all the songs. So I just wanted them to be like, wherever y'all want to start, I'm good. You know, if y'all want to pick a certain song, if y'all want to run down the list, you know, I told Charlie, I'm good, you know, and then we started jamming. And it was just like, it was just so crazy, man.
Wow.
Like I said, it was jam number one. So the first song number one, being the guy holding the guitar and only one guitar player, one bass player, the drums and the vocals for that first jam was something, you know, that I'll cherish with me for the rest of my life, man. It was just something that was very special. And those 9 days that we were all there together, you know, it was just something that I'll take with me forever, man, because it was jam. It was jam one.
So you obviously you were a fan of Pantera and especially Dime, and then you had to learn the songs to play the set with the Illegals, and then you end up, you know, rehearsing with the remaining members of Pantera. After all that studying of Dime's playing, did you learn anything that you weren't aware of about his style or his approach or his technique that you wouldn't know if you weren't trying to dial it in like you had to?
Man, that's a good question. And I will say, after those 9 days, most definitely. And that was because of Rex. Rex coming across the room and showing me not the right way, because the notes were, we were locking in notes, but it was, man, I'll never forget. It was the groove where Rex would be like, slow that down, bring those little nuances that I was not doing. Rex was doing, and only he knew, because he knows, you know. So he would come over and be like, lay it down a little bit more, slow that groove. That's the way Pantera would do it.
He was telling you what notes to drag.
And he would be like, feel those notes. Don't rush that slide. Just bring that slide in, you know? And I'd be like, oh, okay, I see what y'all were doing. And it would just hit me in that little moment where I'd be like, man, that's what Pantera was doing. I see now, you know, but I only was really learning that when Grady and Rex were really showing different things that I didn't know at that time.
Was Bobby there?
Yeah, Bobby was there.
Yeah.
Big brother Bobby. I love, you know, he was one of the guys that definitely made me feel comfortable, because we knew each other for a long time, but having him there, you know, was a lot of love, Texas love, you know, because he's our you know, our boy, and he just made me, you know, feel as comfortable as possible. So it was great to have him there.
No doubt.
Yeah, for anyone who's not aware, we're talking about Bobby Landgraf, also known as Bobby Rock, who is Rex Brown's bass tech, and he's been out on this tour. Actually played on stage once or twice when Rex was sick. I remember we all saw those clips and we couldn't believe it. You know, you talk about your boy, and we're all going, dude, that's our guy. He's on stage with Pantera on this reunion thing. And it was pretty crazy.
Well,
Man,
it's also, still talking about Bobby, least we not forget, he was also in Down. So he's familiar with that camp. He's him and Kurt still cool. Him and, you know, when Rex was in Down, it was the thing. And so Bobby's in the inner circle as well.
For sure.
Bobby definitely is. And I just want to send a little love to Honky. And just say, you know, the Bobby's band is Honky. And if you're not familiar with some Texas twang, go check out Honky, and you'll do yourself a favor. That's for sure.
Yeah, that's a fun party, the Honky gig.
You mentioned the Inter-thrational all-star band that you were part of, and so as the guy that played every song, you're the one guy that doesn't leave the stage. So kind of in the same vein as the dime bag question I just asked you, was there any song in the set list that you found particularly challenging, or that had something in it that you didn't realize until you studied it? And then second part of that question, who out of all those people was the most fun for you to be on stage with?
Good question.
Man, that's a great question. I have an answer for each of those questions too.
Hit me.
So it wasn't in particularly one song. It was the whole thing. Every song, you know, I knew the Metallica songs. I played, you know, Seek and Destroy, and I knew those songs, but some of those songs, but like playing the violent stuff, playing those really early Exodus songs, the Forbidden songs. We did a little bit of everything. Even the early Slayer stuff, it was like tricky on some of the little stuff that was going on. But I want to say it was the whole experience, because I went and sat and watched, even before the show, the thrash 80s Bay Area documentaries, and was all right,
Murder in the Front Row.
Yes, I watched that one, and there's a few other ones, and I was like, let me go really in depth with the Bay Area, and I want to start from the beginning and kind of go and, you know, really learn about these guys. So I did that. Then I learned the set of songs, and then it came down to to the 2 or 3 days of rehearsal, jam, us going away from each other. Those 2 or 3 days of being in Europe and in Eindhoven and jamming at Dynamo was the icing on the cake of the experience of the 80s thrash movement. Just being with these guys who were there during the 80s, and you know, the whole everything as a whole, I learned a lot. The music, these guys were like 18, 17 years old when they were writing these songs. Is absolutely mind-blowing. And I tell them that when I see them, you guys were kids when y'all were writing these songs. It's crazy. And then, you know, just I have so much respect for all those guys. The music is gigantically important, and you know, the whole scene as a vibe and era was, you know, very important to the whole metal movement, you know. So
Sure.
it wasn't just one particular song. It was the whole thing. I took it all in. I was like, all right, I really want to feed off of this, because I was the only, like I said, the only Texas guy with all these other dudes. So I really wanted to become part of that. So I did my best. Excuse me, but
That's right.
jamming with one particularly dude that was the funnest, man. All the guys are great, but I will go with, and I'm sure all these guys will be like, that's the correct answer, and that will be Harold Oman.
Yes.
Old school Harold, man. You know,
Ario.
yeah, he does the photos, and he's a legend
Yes.
in the Bay Area scene. And he was there from the very beginning. He took the photos. He was the party guy. He was also in DRI. He's still an absolute soul to be around. So I'll say Harold, man. He was the cool. Everybody was absolutely awesome, but the fun guy that kept the party going was Harold, man. He was a good time up there, and I can't wait to jam with him again, man.
Yeah, we had him on our show a year or two ago, and he
was great.
He was just hilarious and so real, and just a dude, you know.
Yeah. I'd never heard his name before, and Jason booked him on the podcast, and we had him on the show, and he was one of my favorite guys when it was all said and done. I was like, wow. So, you know, in doing my research, of course, I start to understand who he is, and I've got the Seven Churches album by Possessed, and he did the photos, and I just went off on that, you know, asking about that photo shoot, and just, you know, asking him all these questions. And he was a character and knowledgeable. And I mean, you talk about a go-to source for that whole scene, like you said. I walked away so educated, and I was laughing the whole time too. So it was perfect.
Yeah.
You know,
I've been seeing Harry's name on, you know, in liner notes and photo credits since, you know, 1983. And I used to be, still am a fan of the, of course, now defunct Ron Quintana's Metal Mania fanzine, which is a black and white newspaper print, kind of a piece of shit fanzine, you know, but I've got multiple copies of it, and that's someone who's a bucket list, is having Ron Quintana on the show. But anybody from the Bay Area who was there, who's living and willing to talk to us just about those magic times back then when tape trading was the only way for you to hear your favorite new wave of British heavy metal bands, or like Venom demos, or just whatever. When the dudes in Death Angel were like 10 years old, that shit was happening, and they're in a band playing, you know, with Megadeth and shit, and they're like 11 or some shit. It's crazy, man.
Yeah, man.
Speaking of Death Angel, have you guys ever had Will Carroll on the show?
No, but we should.
Yes, because Will, you guys would have a blast talking to him. Will is another part of the Bay Area. He was there for both shows as well. We got to jam, and I'm going to be doing a thing with the Bay Area coming up in June, and Will's going to be jamming the set with us on drums. So you guys should definitely have him. He is another one of the guys that just his knowledge of history of the metal and the metal that was going on back then is another guy who, you know, would love to have, you know, just to have a good talk with. He has
hook us up.
Yeah, I was going to say,
I will.
hook us up, man.
I will
Yeah.
hook you guys up, man. Will's a good dude.
So the Bay
cat.
Area Inter-thrational, why don't you give us, just to give all of our listeners the full on spectrum and footprint and like incredible, legendary, fucking unbelievable. I mean, just give us the shopping list of everyone who is involved, the singers, the guitar players, the bass players, the guest vocalists that maybe came up that day at the Dynamo, blah, blah, blah. Because you guys did a song with Randy from Lamb of God, who may or may not have been actually on the roster as far as, but he was just guesting, right? He came up and jumped up. Is that what? Okay. But give us the Bay Area Inter-thrational grocery list of players and tell us name and what band, if we don't know.
Okay, the Bay Area Inter-thrational.
It's like a promo. It's like a promo.
Yes.
I want you to do for it.
This is going to be an interesting roll call, right?
Love
here.
it. Love it.
Yes. Okay, so the Bay Area Inter-thrational is the brainchild of my friend Craig LaCicero from Forbidden. And shout out to Craig, man. He's put this thing together, and it is a Bay Area tribute to the past. And he pays respect by gathering a list of players and help pay tribute to the songs of yesterday. And the cool thing is he doesn't have anybody who played on these songs play. So it's players from other bands paying tribute to the other bands. It's
That's fun.
absolutely super cool.
Yeah.
The one we did in Dynamo was the very first one, and the core list of guys is Craig LaCicero, Chris Contos, who was an awesome beast of a drummer.
On drums, he was in Machine Head as well as...
He's played for Testament, Exodus, Violence. Right now he's jamming in Forbidden.
Right.
Machine Head. Matt Camacho from the Bay Area Forbidden. All the good bands on bass. We have Caton from Hyrax was there for the first one.
Yep.
Yeah, Caton
DePena from Hyrax. Yep.
The homie right there, man.
Yeah. That dude rules, man.
Yeah.
And another source of so much information.
Yep, we've had him on the show. Yeah, he's great.
Awesome.
He's great. I'm doing a gig with him. Watchtower's playing with Hyrax at Legions of Metal in Chicago in a couple of weeks. So I'll tell him you said hi.
Please do. Yeah, he's a good dude. We both have a secret love for candy as well, for the sweets.
Nice.
He rules. Let's see. That specific one we had. Oh man, Randy from Llama God. I don't want to say they were guests because what Craig likes to do is whoever's going to be there at the performance of the day that we perform, he'll get those guys, I guess, to come and guest on a song. So it's not like we show up and it's like, hey, do you want to come sing on a song? It's like these guys are going to be there. Everyone's coming up to jam on a song.
Cool.
And these are the guys that are coming up and jamming.
Sweet.
So we've had John Campbell, Mark, who was singing for Kerry King's new band, singing for Death Angels.
Osagata,
he sang on some songs. Rob from Death Angel, Will Carroll from Death Angel, Mark Hernandez from Forbidden's on drums. Oh man, I could keep on going. There's so many guys. Harold playing bass on a bunch of tunes. Phil Demmel playing guitar on a bunch of tunes. And then we took it to the San Francisco area and did it a year later. And this was a bigger Bay Area Inter-thrational.
Yeah.
It was 4 hours long, and Craig wanted to pay tribute to a bunch of thrash from different parts of the world. So he did like a European tribute. We did a South American tribute, and then he did like a East Coast, West Coast. And it was 30 or 40 songs from so many amazing bands, from Slayer to Overkill to Sepultura to everybody was on this. Megadeth. I mean, so many. And then the list of players was even bigger because it was so many players from the Bay Area, but it was still the same core of guys coming out and jamming, plus a bunch of other awesome players from the scene. And then, so what that is just the Bay Area is a tribute to the 80s. It's a core of awesome players. And whenever we perform, whoever's going to be there will most likely come out and jam some songs with us. And we're just out there to have fun first and foremost. You know, we're not trying to take ourselves super seriously, but we also want to come out and kick some ass and have fun and just rock out all the old Bay Area tunes and do it with a bunch of the old school cats while we can, man. So it's a good thing, and it's alive and it's well, man.
I saw a bunch of video on YouTube because I was kind of secretly following. I first read about it and I was like, "What the fuck is this?" And then I dove into it, and then when you guys did that first one, I saw a bunch of video, and it was out of control, man. It was the whole audience was just alive because of those old tunes that created its own monster, and the people that you had, and I really thought Randy killed that Metallica tune. I can't remember if it was Ride the Lightning or
he did Fight Fire with Fire.
Fight Fire with Fire. Yeah, okay,
Yeah.
right. God, that's fucking God. I got to go watch that again.
It was so electric. I just remember it just being up there and just being like, it was just electric. It was so fire. It was just like
Nice.
We were on fire. Everybody, the crowd, it was just something super, super fantastically awesome, man. Metal to the bone. It was great.
Oh yeah. Very cool.
How did you get involved with Max and Soulfly? You mentioned word of mouth earlier. I'm going to guess that you're kind of you're building a reputation now. People are aware of who you are, but don't let me put words in your mouth. Tell me how you got the call from Max.
Well, with the Max thing, I remember the last few years, the one and only Dino, had been jamming with Soulfly and was doing his thing, and I was always, longtime fan of Dino, longtime fan of Max, so I remember going to see them in the last few years, but then I started to see Fear Factory was starting to pick up again and that Dino was going to start being busy, so I remember reaching out to, if I'm not mistaken, it was Gloria. It's been a little bit now, and just saying, hey, I would love to. I have nothing going on. Philip's doing his thing right now. Pantera's getting ready to go do their thing. I know. I would love to. I would love to play guitar for you guys. If y'all are looking for somebody, I would just keep. I would love to. I love to come jam. And I remember waiting, a little bit, but then eventually, got that call, and it was like, hey, you want to come out to Phoenix where the Cavaleras are based out of, and you want to come jam? And I just remember being super ecstatic about it. Another, to me, just a dream come true, growing up on Max and his amazing career of Sepultura and Soulfly, Nailbomb, and everything in between. The man's done so many amazing songs and riffs. To be able to go and jam with Max, who I've met, a few times, always real cool, always down to earth, but to be able to strap guitars on and be in a room with Max and, jam together was a whole another, ball game of rock and roll, man. And it was just super awesome. And I think I say it all the time, thank the metal gods for all the opportunities, but to be here today jamming with Max and crew is just another dream come true, man.
There's something really special about you being the go-to guy. I just want to bring that up and make people realize that, like, you're a humble dude. I mean, the times that I've met you, people remember you because you're not that other type of personality that's got a chip on their shoulder or more deserving. Phil Dimmel is the same way. He's very humble and straight, and he's a go-to guy.
Yes, he is.
Guitar players that get the call are people like Phil and you, and I'm sure there's a bunch of guys who are just, you know, not in it to win it, but they play guitar like they're in it to win it. They're in it to win it they're playing rock and roll for all the right reasons.
That's the best way to put it. Like, I'm definitely in it to win it, but it's only to get up there and jam my ass off, man. I just want to go up and I want to rock. I just want to go up and have fun and play to my best abilities and bring you my A game, no matter, you know, what the band is, and have fun doing it, man. And always bring a cool vibe, you know, like Dimebag, you know, he was always just the most laid back, outgoing, fun guy. You know, I never met Dime, just through the video, you know, through the videos.
Wow.
He seemed like the coolest dude, you know.
Yeah,
so
he was pretty special guy.
I just try to bring that vibe, man. Let's just have some fun. Let's rock out and let's thrash, man. Let's have a good time.
Yeah, but you also know how to conduct yourself as well as business.
Yeah.
Like, moving in the right way, knowing when to talk and what to say is half of it.
And knowing when not to talk.
Same thing.
Also part
it's
of
the
it
same
too.
thing, man.
So how did all this start? I mean, you've got some pretty amazing phone calls, and as you've said, you've had some amazing opportunities, living the dream, basically. Do you remember your first guitar, and how did you acquire your first guitar? And then, who was your first guitar hero growing up?
Wow, great question. Sorry.
Oh, this is a good question because I could talk about my first guitar player all day. Underrated guitar player. So my first guitar, I still have it. It's here in the room here with me. It's just like an old Fender knockoff pawn shop guitar.
Mm-hmm.
But I was 8 years old when I got it, so it was like the guitar that was glowing in the room. You know, it was a beautiful guitar. It's a black and white Fender guitar, and I still have it to this day. And I've been playing guitar since I was 3. My dad has always had an acoustic guitar, so when I was 3 years old, I just remember picking up the guitar and just kind of never put it down. Even if I was just plucking, I would just continually always interested in the guitar. But it wasn't until I was 4, just a year later, when my dad started taking me to rock concerts and I started getting to see real shows, you know, with my own 2 eyes at a 4-year-old level, 5-year-old, 6-year-old, but at 4 years old, seeing it for the first time was a big deal. And my first concert, real quick, was Stevie Wonder, you know, so I got to see Stevie with his band, and I remember it, and it was awesome. But at 4 years old, again, just a few months later, at the awesome Frank Irwin Center, man, which I want to send a little love real quick. My pops took me to see David Lee Roth on the Eat 'Em and Smile tour. And I got to see Steve Vai and Greg Bissonette and Billy Sheehan and David, you know, at almost 5, but still 4. And man,
Frank Irwin Center for that?
Frank Irwin Center.
I was at that show.
I was there. There too. I was there
dude.
too. And just
didn't Poison open?
I don't remember who the opening band was.
Poison opened.
I think so.
Yeah, Poison opened that show. Yeah.
That is news to me because that is now going to lead to my first guitar player. My first guitar player that I was obsessed with as a kid, well, always saying in an interview, but I've been asked a couple times, but always will be CC DeVille, man.
Wow.
I love CC. Even Max, when me and Max had he interviewed me on his show, Max Tracks. He was like, "Who's your first guitar player?" And I remember standing there and I said, CC DeVille. And it was just like, whoa, really? I was like, man,
wow.
CC has just always been my guy. And Poison has just always been one of my top 3 favorite bands of all time. You know,
wow.
I think CC's, you know, underrated guitar player.
I agree with that. Yeah, I think that he helped create anything and everything that Poison accomplished because of the way that he played guitar. And I could say the same thing about Motley Crue as well, that Mick Mars is the reason. He's like the coolest guy. I think CC's the coolest guy. Both of those bands, it's the guitar player.
Yeah, Mick Mars.
Some strange. Man. Yeah, he's a heavy player.
What is it about CC? I didn't see this coming at all, man. This is great.
The look
This
on your
is
face,
great.
Dave, was awesome. By the
Yeah,
way.
man, because I've got a soft spot in my heart for Poison, dude. And I mean, people knock me down for it all the time, but Poison just rocks, dude. They always get me in a good mood. They're always fun on stage. I mean, they're a party, dude.
Totally. And like it's the, you know, it's just like you said, it's the good times. You can throw them on. You can listen to nothing but a good time and be in a bad mood, but you throw that on and all of a sudden you're just like, whoa, you know, things are gonna be okay, you know, you're rocking out. And but for CC, it was always his style, his approach, the notes that he picked. It was like, it was just something about his approach to the guitar that I always loved, you know. He wouldn't even look. He would just be running around the stage and he'd be shredding that guitar and he'd be hitting all the right notes, man. And you can listen to certain songs. There's a song called Life Goes On. It's off the Flesh and Blood album.
Yeah.
His guitar playing is like sad in that song. It's like it'll put you in a down mood, man. And it's just, I've always just been a big fan of CC, and I'll always stick by that, man. He's just always been a great guitar player to me.
So you went from
And-
Steve Vai to CC DeVille in one sentence. You were just like there this even effect that they have on your heart and your mind as far as a guitar player goes. And you went from Steve Vai, you were like, and I'm sorry I interrupted you, but you went right into CC DeVille, and then I was like, what? And then Dave's face went like, no, or something.
I didn't see that coming, man. I mean, you play in Flesh Hoarder, dude. I mean, I was not expecting you to be so open and praising Poison and CC DeVille. I think that's awesome.
You guys would be leaving me in the dust. I'm not as big a Poison guy as you guys seem to be. So,
yeah.
I got to meet Brett a couple years ago.
Oh, right on.
And I actually snuck in with my illegals pass. He was in San Marcos. He played in a little airport, which is not that big, but he played like this little stage, and he was in town for a night. And I used to use my little pass and walk past the security guy, and he was kind of doing a little meet and greet, and I just got in line, and I was wearing my Open Up and Say All original shirt, and it was like skin tight on me, and he was laughing that I busted it out. But I got like 2 minutes with Brett, and I was just like trying to tell him how much I love the band and I love the music and whatnot. So it was really, really cool, man. But hopefully one day.
He is the nicest guy in rock and roll. I've been lucky enough to hang out with him many, many times. Here's a quick story for you, Mike, and you'll appreciate this because you're such a Poison fan. I actually sang on stage with them at Sunken Garden Theater in San Antonio one time.
Nice.
Because I had done an interview with him for the San Antonio newspaper. And then the following year, they were coming back through. This is when they started doing that summer glam slam thing where they came through every summer with a package of other 80s rock bands or whatever. So the second time they're coming through, his people call me and they say, hey, Brett really enjoyed doing the interview the last time. Would we be able to do it again? And so I reached out to my editor and I said, hey, they're offering an interview. They said, yeah, do it. So I'm talking to Brett. We're doing the interview. We're about to wrap up. And he goes, hey, I'm going to leave some passes for you. Come out to the show, say hello. And he goes, you know what? I want you to feel what I feel every night. So every night we close with Rock and Roll All Night by Kiss. You know that song? And I'm like, hell yeah, I know that song. He goes, I'm going to call you up on stage. I want you to sing it with me so you can get that excitement that I feel every night. And I'm thinking, he's just blowing smoke, man. You know, I was like, okay, sure. Sounds great. And so we hang up the phone. We're done with the interview. A couple of weeks later, I'm at the show. And sure enough, he calls me out on stage. And at first, when he called my name, I was just stunned. I couldn't believe it. And so it took him like 2 or 3 times. And he calls me by name, and the drums are starting to. And so I go running up there, and I know this venue inside out because I've been there a million times. And I'm running through security, and I've got my pass, and I'm like, I'm Glessner, I'm Dave Glessner, I'm Dave. He just called me. And so I go skidding up on stage, surprised the shit out of Brett. He didn't see me coming. I like come running up on side of him. He sees me, and then he knows who I am and what's going on. So we are like nose to nose on the same mic singing a Kiss song in front of like 3,000 people at Sunken Garden Theater, and it was awesome.
That is awesome. What a story. That's a good one, man.
There's my Poison story. So.
That is awesome. What a nice guy.
Dude, he's the nicest freaking guy. I just saw him a year and a half ago or whatever on that stadium tour when they came through.
Oh, okay.
And he had us back, and we hung out for a bit. And then he told me this was kind of at the tail end of COVID. So we kind of, we all had to bring our vaccination card so that nobody was contagious. So they were kind of keeping their distance, but they were, you know, he knew me from years past. So he let me and my family come back and hang out. And he says, hey, so we were hanging out before he went on. And then during the show, we were watching from side stage. And he said, after the show, I'll call you and you come back and hang out for a bit on the bus or whatever. And I'm like, okay. So he calls me during Def Leppard. And I'm like, I can't hear anything. It's a strange number. I just ignore it, right? Because he didn't say he was going to call me. He said his guy was going to come out and get me. And so anyway, my phone is ringing. I don't know who it is. There's a concert going on. I can't hear anything anyway. After the show, I walk back and I've got a voicemail. And I check my voicemail and it's freaking Brett. And he's like, hey, Dave, it's Brett. Sorry, man, we couldn't hook up. We had to hit the road. We're already gone. I'm on the bus and on the road, but I wanted to thank you and your family for coming out. It was so great to see you again, man. And next time I'm back in town, we'll connect again, blah, blah, blah. I was like, who does that, man? So cool.
That is
Someone who loves their job, and that's rock and roll people, and that's how rock and roll people treat. That's how people treat each other in rock and roll.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Anyway, dude, I like I said, we could bore each other all day long with Poison stories.
Oh man, I'm a big fan of 80s, just 80s.
Mike, are you a Kiss fan? Yeah. You like Kiss?
Oh, I love Kiss, man. Yeah, great band right there.
Yeah.
So band, Jason,
me and even Philip loves Kiss.
We've
gone on some tangent. We're fans of Kiss, man.
Yeah.
So Jason, you brought up the sort of the dichotomy of Steve Vai, and then on the other end of the spectrum, maybe CeCe DeVille. Do you know what those two guys have in common? Mike, this is open to you as well. This is a trivia question.
Wow, here we go.
Trivia question.
I'm thinking right now, what do those guys have in common?
I know this answer.
I mean,
does it have anything to do with David Lee Roth?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, I think so.
It has something to do with somebody you wouldn't expect it to have anything to do with.
Oh, okay. Then
but it's somebody that's near and dear to all of our hearts.
Wow.
Is it either Roth?
I'm sorry.
Zappa?
No, it's not. That's not what I'm thinking of. I know the Zappa Vai connection, but I don't think CeCe had anything to do with Zappa. All right, I'll just give it to you.
Just give it to us.
And somebody correct me in the comments if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure that both of those guys guested on the Motorhead Inferno album.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Okay.
Because
I know that.
Yeah, it's I think it's the Inferno record. We'll have to look it up or someone correct me in the comments. But if you look in the liner notes, and I remember that catching my eye because I thought that's a weird combination of guys right there. But, you know, if you think about it, maybe not. CeCe and Lemmy, you can imagine just getting
I bet they
along like a house on fire.
Had a great time. Oh, yeah.
And Vi was in there. So somebody look that up, and I'll check after the show. But
that's very interesting.
It's just funny that those two names came up in our conversation, and this light bulb went off in my head.
You know, everything is everything. We did like a Deep Purple family tree episode years ago on this show. It was one of our early episodes. And we could have gone on for like 7 more hours about how anyone and everyone is connected to Deep Purple somehow.
Man, I played a show in Mexico one time, right when the world shut down. It was the weekend of 2020, March 13th, 14th, 2020. The weekend, everything was just going bad. And we were in Mexico with the Illegals. And our last note, we had just finished, must have been 50,000 people. We finished, we walk off stage. I'm moving my gear off stage because we're done. Well, the main stage was connected to the other main stage. And right when we finished, Highway Star kicked in. And I just remember being like, whoa, like stopping and yelling across the stage to our other guitar player, Steve. And I was like, Steve, do you hear that? It's Highway Star. And their Deep Purple is rocking over there.
Whoa.
And they were kicking in the organs, the guitar. I was like, man. And it was them. And I just remember that little moment. And Deep Purple was hitting right after the Illegals. And it was just super cool to feel the rumble of Highway Star at the end of our set. It was cool.
I'm gonna go out on a limb here and say I can only imagine what young and brave and cool and humble and smart Mr. Mike Deleon from San Marcos, Texas, who plays guitar, is set. He's got a list of shows on his calendar, and he goes and looks up, I wonder who we're playing with. This is just fantasy. This could be a comic book strip, whatever. You're looking, I wonder who else, oh, it's with the Illegals. Oh, it's with Soulfly, whatever. I wonder who else is on the bill because it's a festival. Let's say it's festival season. This is completely fantastical, Mike, and I'm going to let you answer in a minute. Give us a feeling. I wonder who else is playing. And you look up and you see, oh, there we are. And, the name of the band or project that you're in, Inter-thrash or whatever, is somewhere on the bill. And it's not the biggest print on the poster. It's not the smallest, but it's not the biggest. Maybe it's a medium or a smedium or a tiny or whatever. But it's not the biggest name. The headliner's listed at the top. Do you shit yourself when you see Deep Purple and Judas Priest and Iron Maiden and Dio or what the fuck ever? I mean, is that something that you still like go, oh shit, we're playing with fill in the blank,
Yes, that is such a good question, Jason. It's so funny because it's so relevant. Just like you said a little bit ago, we're fans. We're fans of music. If I'm not playing the show, I'm attending the show, so I'm a big fan of music, and no matter what, I love live music. So when we get booked on a show, and just like you said, it could be at the top, it could be at the middle, it could be at the very bottom of the thing. But I know
you could be going on at 10 o'clock in the morning and you don't give a fuck.
Oh no, I'm gonna go rock out 10 o'clock in the morning. Let's get some tacos and we're gonna go rock out.
Fucking ain't right.
But in 18 days from now, it's so relevant because the last couple of days, 2 days ago, I was at my mom and my dad's house telling my dad this. Soulfly is playing this festival in Daytona on the Speedway where they have the races, and the headliner that night is Motley Crue and Judas Priest and Disturbed and Mudvayne. But back to Motley Crue and Judas Priest. Now, in 1989, my dad took me to see Motley Crue on the Dr. Feelgood tour, once again at the Frank Irwin Center. And I was 8 years old at that concert. And I remember thinking to myself, this is the biggest concert of my life. We're at Motley Crue. It was insane. If you would have told me at 8 years old that day, when you're 42 years old, you're going to be playing with Motley Crue. Same day, Mike. You might not be in the band, but your band's going to be opening up just a couple bands, a couple hours before Motley Crue. You're going to be playing. I would have, at 8 years old, I would have looked at you and would have been like, what are you talking about? What do you mean? So it's still an absolute trip, this thing called life, and the things that life throws at you and the things that happen in your lifetime. So I cannot wait in 18 days when we play at 5 in the afternoon and we go rocket and then change eat a little food and catering, and then be able to go watch Motley Crue is just gonna be absolutely crazy to me, man. I absolutely cherish those moments. It's a big, big deal. I'll fly back, be back home with the family a day later, back here in my house hanging out, and I'll be sitting here thinking, I just got to jam with Motley Crue. How crazy is that?
Yeah.
Dad, I just played with Motley Crue, man.
Yep.
So it's a big, big deal, and I absolutely love it. And it's cool. And like I said, as a fan, it's cool, man. I appreciate every moment.
Yeah. I got one last question, and it's kind of silly, but if anybody's going to get the phone call, it seems like it might be you, because you've gotten a lot of magical phone calls over the years. As someone who has got to play with some of your heroes, and as someone who is building a reputation as sort of a go-to guy in the industry, who's on your bucket list of collaborators?
Oh man, that's a great question. Okay, these are going to be some, I don't want to say some underdogs, but these are going to be some good, deep friends of mine that I, at some point, would like to make some music with.
Okay.
There's a drummer overseas by the name of Nick Barker.
Yeah.
Jammed on some really good albums from back in the day. Really extreme metal drummer, legendary drummer.
Napalm Death?
He's probably jammed for Napalm, but his bands were like Dimmu Borgir, Cradle of Filth. He's a big, tall cat. He was jamming in Brujeria for a while, but he's played for Exodus. He's played for Testament. He's played for Venom Inc. He's played for, the list goes on and on and on. He's a great, great drummer, solid drummer, legendary drummer. Speaking of Napalm Death, I would love to do some tunes with Shane.
Mm-hmm.
I think me and Shane could probably do some really cool, maybe a couple of cool grindcore / like crossover metal tunes together.
Yeah.
I think that would be awesome. And another one of my bucket list guys would definitely be, let's go back to CC DeVille. If I can do like a rock tune with CC, would be an absolute dream come true. If I could meet the man, would be another one, big one for me. But to do a tune with CC, a real laid back, bluesy, Texas sort of vibe, rock tune, I think it would be cool, man. I think it'd be really, really cool.
We know a dude that knows CC.
If y'all could hook me,
we know a dude that was in a band with CC.
Oh, I know that dude too. That's a good friend of a good friend.
No,
we know two guys that were in a band with CC.
Oh well, I know. I'm talking about Adam Hamilton.
And him and Francis Ruiz.
Yes, I'm thinking Francis.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
He was in Samantha 7.
Well,
if you in Buck Cherry.
If you know Francis, you could just give him a call.
He lives right up the road too. He's like in New Braunfels.
That's right.
Far out.
Yeah, he's not too far either. He's always on the road, but he ain't too far. He's just right up the road.
Isn't it really cool that Texas just is on the map for being this place where you're either from here, born here, raised here, still here, ain't going anywhere, but you're global?
It's the coolest.
There's a bunch of us. There's a bunch of us that are like, this is home, and like we're just like doing fly dates all the time or doing runs, and it's pretty great. I don't know, is Francis from Texas?
I don't know where he's originally from. That's a good question.
Yeah, we interviewed him, and I can't recall.
I want to say I'm going to say either El Paso or Albuquerque.
Oh,
For some reason, I think New Mexico.
That rings a bell a little bit.
Okay.
We could text him and ask him later. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
Hey, Mike.
I know the dude from Disturbed is living in Kyle, too.
John.
Yeah, John's a good dude.
Good dude.
He's from El Paso originally.
Okay.
Yeah,
I know he was hanging in San Antonio for a while, doing some bands back in the day, too.
Yeah, Union Underground.
Yeah, he was. I was the bass player for Union Underground for a couple of years, and then I got busy with Bobby and Godzilla Motor Company, and I had to leave, but I showcased with Union Underground, and those guys were like, "Well, shit, if you can't stay, fuck, man, we got this deal. Who plays bass with a pick and pedal boards and distortion and shit like you?" And I said, "Fucking John. You got to call John." And they went and saw Soak play, and they gave him a CD, and he took my place in Union Underground. And then, of course, now he's in Disturbed, and
Now he's a Disturbed.
he's the best dude, by the way, too.
Yeah,
John.
he's super cool.
Yeah, he's the
Yes.
best dude. We love that guy.
I'll see him in a few weeks. Disturbed is playing the night
Yeah.
we are over in Florida as well. So I'll go
Yeah.
over, show him some Texas love and say hello, man.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Give him
right.
our best.
Well,
We
that's
love
what
that
I'm
guy.
saying. It's just kind of an interesting thing that maybe not a lot of people realize that, but a lot of people who stay pretty busy in the rock and roll world are from here or live here. It's kind of interesting. Maybe that's an idea for an episode, Dave, where
Yeah.
we could just go off and like talk at, just you and me kind of go through people's sort of list of accolades and histories and give like 10, 15 minutes to each artist.
Yeah.
All the way back to like ZZ Top.
Oh yeah.
Wow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the Kings.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
They're untouchable still.
Yeah.
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 Hey, Mike, thanks for coming into our house today, man.
Yeah.
Thank
man.
y'all so much for having me. I had a awesome time hanging with you guys.
Yeah.
We could sit here and talk for
Oh,
another
dude.
few hours about
Yeah.
bands and rock and roll, man.
Yeah.
For sure. And hey, man, next time we're in the same building together, make sure you come over and say hi. Or if I spot you first, I'll do the same. It's crazy that we've been in the same room so many times over so many years. And this is actually the first time I've, talked to you at length. And it was a great conversation today, man. I feel like I say this a lot, but I think it's one of the reasons that we get people like you on this show. We've been really lucky to have people on the show who are not only successful at what they do, but they're still every bit that 15-year-old kid with the posters on their bedroom wall and everything. And it's just very genuine, and I can sense it with you. And I mean, your enthusiasm is contagious, and we can tell that you're grateful for what you've accomplished and you're grateful for what may come. And we're happy for you. And you're just a likable dude. So I appreciate you taking the time and being on the show today, and wish you continued success.
Thank you so much, man. Next time I see you for sure, we'll come over and we'll chat it up and hang on out, man, for sure, brother.
Yeah, man. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Mike, you got some riffs and you need a singer. You thought you know where to throw them.
Oh man, I will definitely hit you up, Jason. I got to talk to you about some things anyway, so I sure will, brother.
Cool. We'll talk soon.
Right on. Thanks so much for being with us today. On behalf of my co-host, Jason McMaster, I'm Metal Dave, along with our special guest today, Mike Deleon from Flesh Hoarder, Soulfly, and so many others. Thanks for being with us today, man, on the Talk Louder podcast.
Thank you, guys.